This is my drawing channel on YouTube, and I'm super excited to be kicking off a brand new series all about how to draw on toned paper. Toned paper drawings are really exciting and they're really fun, but they can be a little bit tricky if you've never tried it before. You have to have a good grasp of a couple of key concepts before you can kind of like run with it and do whatever you want and know what you're doing with confidence. So with this series, I believe it's going to be about 3 parts. It might wind up being 4. I really want to just go through each of the concepts, talk about supplies, talk about a basic project, and then we'll do a face for the final project. And in this series, I also have a 5-page little packet PDF if you'd like it. If you're a longtime subscriber of my channels on YouTube, you know I'm all about some resources. So I put together a 5-page resource that has the value scales in gray and brown. It has images that actually correlate to all the things that I'm going to be teaching you with the face and the sphere. It has a list of my favorite supplies because that always comes up. It has my face guidelines cheat sheet in here, and it also has the reference that I'm going to be using for the final project. So it's kind of like a bundle for the whole thing. So it's free. Just let me know in the comments if you would like the toned paper packet, and I will drop a link that lets you download it right to your computer. So today I'm going to be talking about the key concepts because you need to understand these concepts on white paper really well before you can go ahead and replicate those on toned paper. So that's what we're going to be going over today, concepts, and if there's time, I will go over the supplies, or at least my favorite supplies today as well. Then down the road, again, we're going to be doing a sphere, and then we're going to be doing a face, all using this little fun packet together. So let's go over to my art table, and I'm going to go over the key concepts that I am going to be teaching you so that you can have success when drawing on toned paper. Holy moly, look at this mess. I know. Welcome to my life, seriously. Okay, so I'm so excited to be doing this series because this is a book I published actually maybe 2 years ago now, I don't even know. But there's a whole chapter in this book on highlights and shadows, and I've never taught it to my students at Awesome Art School, and I've never taught it here on YouTube. So I want to make sure that finally, at long last, you're getting the lesson kind of in video format that goes along with this chapter. So again, this book is called How to Draw and Find Your Style. I've published a ton of books, but this is really my drawing go-to for faces and hands. And I want to finally explain to you this chapter. So if you own the book, and a lot of my students do, this starts on page 101. And I'm explaining to you the concept, well, this whole book is in black and white because I'm trying to explain this concept of the value scale and then what it really means and why it's so important for highlights and shadows. And that's regardless of the subject that you're drawing. So you could be drawing a pair of scissors, you could be drawing a car, you could be drawing a building. It doesn't matter what you're drawing. If you want to have dimension in your pieces of work, you need to have areas that are highlighted and areas that are in shadow. So this is the chapter where I do my very best to explain that concept and to represent it both in graph digitally and in pencil and using the photographs and this little bar of value that I'm going to be going through step by step today. So this is the concept you need to kind of understand. We'll do supplies after we nail down this concept. So I'm going to be demoing this on white paper. So again, we can't understand this in toned until we really nail this down in black and white. So we're going to start with a white piece of paper. Okay. So I'm just going to use actually one pencil to get us started. This is the black wing. I use that a lot, and people have a lot of questions about it. These are actually like fancy schmancy writing pencils. They come out, they're super not necessary. I just love mine. It's kind of equivalent to like a 4B. So if you have a 4B, you can get a feel of that same feeling. So it can get pretty dark, which is cool. So as you can see, what is this bar? Okay. And this is page 1 of the packet. So if you already have the packet, you can begin following along with me right away. And this is the same bar that's represented in the book here. So just so you know, tone paper, when you usually buy it commercially, comes in a gray tone or a brown tone. So I did my best to represent both of those. That's why there's both of those on this first sheet of your PDF packet. So as you can see, we are going from white to black, right? And there's really infinite shades between here, but if it's kind of like you need to narrow it down, you can just do it in this kind of 6 bubbles like this. Now, this is the white of the paper, right? And then this is jet black. So as a really quick rule of thumb, for any, well, to have like cool dimension in whatever it is that you're drawing, it's really good to have white somewhere, black somewhere, and then some shades in between as well. And it doesn't matter how many shades you have, but the more shades, again, between black and white that you have, the more dimension you have. So what I'm teaching here on page 102 is that basically, how do you create this with your pencil? And so I'm giving you like the pencils you should be using. So this is like a 4H. I'm saying this is a 4H or higher, right? Now, if you don't have a 4H pencil, you can also get the same value by just sketching lightly, okay? So I'm gonna recreate this. So I have my book, I have our cheat sheet, and then obviously white is nothing. I'm not gonna be doing anything here. So if we wanna go a little bit darker, what do you think we do? Well, we just kind of sketch really lightly, right? Now this pencil, you see how dark it wants to get already? Already kind of wants to go here. So if you can't even get that lightly, then you're like, oh, all right, Blackwing, if you're gonna be like that, then I do need to get my lighter pencils. And the light pencils are all the H's, all the pencils in the H family. So H, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here's it, look at this. This is a 9H, and like it barely makes, if I push down hard, it makes, and that's why it doesn't show up here, because it's so light, it doesn't even pick up. This is a hardback copy, which I don't sell anymore. The paper quality is so bad, I actually took it off the market. So the paperbacks are available on Amazon, but just so you know, some people are like, where'd you get that hardcover? And I'm like, they're not. See how you can see through the page behind it? I hate that, so I took them off the market, but just in case you're wondering. But this is so light. So this really, that light shade is this right here, okay? So this is like a H. This is a high, we'll say like a 6H or higher, okay? So now we're going a little bit darker. So I have here HB, press, or press lightly basically. So we have this, which is again this, and you can actually do this right on I could do this right on my paper, as a matter of fact. Okay, so this, and you're trying to kind of like match that tone a little bit. This was the really light one. Oh, look at that. That's like as hard as I'm pressing down pretty hard, and that's the 9H. All right. Okay, then we're going down one more. So how do you get this value? You can switch pencils, or you can just press down a little bit harder. And again, I'm trying to make this kind of match that. It doesn't have to be perfectly. Okay, and then we're gonna go darker. Now, I don't think I can get that dark with this pencil, so I'm gonna really switch to a super dark pencil, like here's a 6B. Oh, that's good. And then you can even press down pretty hard. Okay, so 6B stands for black or bold. This is probably like a 2B. This could be like an HB, and this is like a high H. So this could be like a 4H or higher. Okay, so here we're going. And then black cannot be represented by gray. And this is super important. You have to use an actual black. And there's a lot of black, there's a lot of drawing utensils that give you a jet black, but it has to be black. You can't have a dark gray. It's not the same. So you have all these, here is like you could use a charcoal pencil. I mean, you can see black is not gray. It's a whole new animal, and we want that. We want to go all the way. So boom, I'm done right there. You could use a regular. This is just like a Prismacolor pencil. Doesn't get as dark, but it is at least black. China pencils I use a lot. These are also called grease pencils, and I love them because they get blacker than the Prismacolor color pencils. Okay. You have a lot of possibilities. You can also use pastels in black to make that as well. Okay, so why do you need the whole value scale? Well, we already said, we started off this conversation by saying the more of all of these you have in your drawing, the more dimensional it looks. So taking this one step further, I just showed you what pencils you can use to get those different shades of gray. That's this page right here. Now when we move on to page 103, what am I doing? What are these little cubes? So what I'm doing is I'm matching up these values to different places on her face. Okay? So like you can see this, and it's when you stop seeing the edges of the square that you know you're in the right value place. So this is this one. Okay, so you're like, wow, well, if I was drawing in a pencil, I would know to use my 4H or higher in this area, right? And this was HB pressing light. And where is that? So that's on this, so that would be the shading on this side of her nose. Okay, then we go this one. This was the middle grade, this one, like a 2B. All right, and where is that shading? Well, that's over here. One more darker, that's going to be the shading on this side, and then black, the only place black appears is sort of here, here, and then you can see where it's black. But this page forces your eye to start associating the different values and kind of where they go. At least that was my intention. And then I take it one step further, and we literally go value by value, like one page per value, because I really want to hammer this home to you. When you're drawing and shading faces, you're just going to simply go, okay, what's the lightest area and where's the darkest area, and how do I do these in between weird areas? Well, they're not in between and weird if you have these little circles set up kind of on paper, but also in your head. So you can literally start comparing, like, okay, this is lighter than here, so this is probably more like this. Okay, that's going to be a little bit darker. And so this and this is really dark, so that line here would get really dark. And check out this shading over here, but I do this step by step. So this, and I say, get out your lightest pencil, and we're gonna be doing this part of the face. And then we're gonna go one step darker. Notice the places that are a little bit darker. So I literally have one value per page. Page 106, we're getting darker, and that's this area. Page 107, we're getting even darker, and that's this area. And then the black of the eye only occurs in the pupil in these very specific areas, tiny, tiny. And then again, the white is always last. So that's a really important concept as well, which is you do all your shades and then you go back and you just boop, boop, you pop in your whites. And there's not usually a lot of whites. And then to kind of wrap up that chapter, well, I'm actually not done because I go on and on, but I just take a different model and then the same value scale. And again, I show you how your eyes can skip around a photographic black and white reference and start identifying like, okay, let's match up these cubes. This one is here. This one is here. Because that's exactly how you draw your shadows, is by looking at the areas and just seeing how light and how dark they are and then drawing accordingly. Now this little page, page 111, I talk about like, hey, you probably think this is a really good reference, right, for drawing because she's so pretty. But it's actually the worst reference ever. Why? Because there's no contrast, meaning there's like hardly any shading. If I have my value scale and I'm putting it up to her, this whole drawing is like right here. Okay, and remember the very, very first rule about good dimensional drawings is that they need to contain the whole value scale. Okay, so page 111 is literally like why this is a bad photo. We don't care how pretty the model is. We want to make dynamic, awesome drawings. We want We want photos that have a lot of contrast. So see how she has so much contrast? And so does she. So all these really robust and dramatic shadows make awesome references, because when you're drawing them, you get to get really, really, really dark under here. Her neck is black, and then the highlight on her nose is like shocking white. So that helps you to draw better, but it also makes your drawings like really pop out and look super duper awesome. So I just wanted to explain that chapter because I haven't actually done that anywhere yet, and I was feeling remiss. So we are gonna do this same thing. This is the reference that we're gonna be drawing on the last part of this series. And do you see why I picked this now based on that explanation? See, this is black. That shadow is super dramatic. So it makes drawing it like pack a punch. And we're gonna make these really, that's gonna be almost black, but I'm gonna help you in real time in this series decipher this in between kind of gray area here. But when you have your little value scale printed out, it's super helpful to be like, okay, is that like here? And then what pencil is that? Oh, Karen said it was like a 6B or higher. And then this is kind of like here. And then you can be like, okay, what is that? Okay, that's like a 2B. You can even like write this in on her face and be like, that's a 2B. And there's like a little highlight here, but it helps you kind of, it helps you see them when you have something to compare it to. You could even like cut these out or take a circle punch and literally put these dots around her face. And then you could like plan out the map of her highlights and shadows. So I'm so excited for this series because I think it's gonna help a lot of you with that. And then just to take it one step further and kind of, speaking of putting the dots all over her face, I also kind of did that for you, and that's on the second page of your free PDF. Okay, but we're not going to be drawing into that until the last one. So today, and this already is getting long, we're not even going to draw this, but I am going to just talk about one more time, wrap up about supplies, and then next week we'll go ahead and we'll do the sphere. All right, in terms of toned paper, there's a ton of different brands, but there's really only 2 basic colors. Although you can get like colored pencil paper and pastel paper that's tinted other colors as well. But for this series, I'm just gonna do gray, or classically there is gray and then there's a brown shade. Some of them are smooth, some of them are rough. Some of them, you know, have some tooth. This little Soho one has a lot of tooth. Some of them are super smooth, like this one. Okay, some of them have really pretty, like, little florals in them. Pick that up at a specialty shop. And I'm actually in the process of creating a book just like this, which should be available soon. But this is kind of neat as well because you have like the little, little Brian Farrell, little Art Deco woman inspiration, but you can see the impact that has having a little bit of white, having a little bit of black. It really makes your things pop off the page. Arteza makes one. I really like the Arteza one actually. It doesn't have the little fleckies in it like some of the Strathmore ones do. This is my all-time favorite one. This is brown recycled rough sketch and it has a ton of tooth in it. It feels just like a paper bag, and this one is actually my favorite. I have an Amazon shop link that has links to all my favorite supplies, which I will, it's just amazon.com/shop/Karen Campbell Artist. But gosh, it's just super fun to make these little sketches, and I will show you how through this series. But yeah, I mean, I don't care too much. This girl's in that book. This pull out because that's the white understanding that we need. But yeah, it's just really fun. So this is a really good example because I only did really black and white and then one shade of gray, right? We have black, and then the shade of gray is just kind of like that colored pencil, and then the white gives it a little background. So, but again, if this was like all gray, it wouldn't pack that punch. And the reason that these faces pop out the way that they do is because of the contrast between the black and the white. It's just a little magical. I'm so excited. If you guys are watching this and you're in my drawing club at Awesome Art School, she is my super beginner toned paper lesson and demo. This one is only black and white. It has no gray whatsoever. All these like little fun little faces. So yeah, in this case, it's the pen. In this case, the line weights becomes the value. So the thick black line becomes this, and a thin black line, see all the scribbles in there, becomes sort of gives the same impression as a lighter gray, and then of course the white pops on top. So this is why in my drawing club I start with Zentangling and line weights, because varying your line weights is the precursor to varying your value, and that's what gives your drawings dimensions. Boom, it's all related. So honestly, paper, I don't have an overwhelming opinion, but I do really love this rough cut because I do like the texture. And then the Strathmore Smooth Gray, I like because I actually can use some markers. I've used markers as well, and it actually works really well because it's really smooth. I don't use a ton of marker, and when I use marker, I only use shades of gray, but you can use it to just accentuate your drawings, and it looks pretty cool. And then again, this one is charcoal, so we'll talk about drawing instruments right now as well. And in that same free PDF packet, I actually have my favorite supplies here, plus the links, so you can find them really, really easily, and you don't have to ask in the comments or anything like that and wait to be gotten back to, so you can see those all there. So yeah, paper, gray, brown, and then I kind of touched on this already, but just to recap, when we are doing tone paper drawings, you have really, you want anything that's going to be able to produce true black, true white, and your grays in between. So having a pencil set is fantastic, and again, I will link to that. And if not, you can see that I use this is my Blackwing that I was referencing before, because you can just sketch lightly. But a nice soft pencil can get you like a lot of those grays just by sketching lightly, right? And again, we always have our value scale with us because we're trying to have the whole thing represented, okay? And this is on white or toned paper. This same concept needs to be highlighted. So actually, I'm going to start on white paper, because we have white here, right? And then I'm like trying not to like push down in any way. Okay, and then we're gonna getting darker and darker and darker. Ah, trying to push down so hard. Ugh. All right, so you guys should be doing the same thing at home, trying to create this value scale. So again, my top favorites are charcoal. Charcoal is number one. It's my least favorite, going in the order of not favorites. This is a Prismacolor colored pencil. So just colored pencils. This is a jumbo pencil, which I kind of love, from Jerry's. It does a good job. It's kind of not as, I don't like charcoal. I don't like the feel of charcoal. So I think it's charcoal mixed with oil. It's very interesting. And then we have my favorite, which is the China marker, because it's super duper opaque. And then after that, you can use any markers too, guys. Like any markers you want, because as you know, they're gonna be black. So you can use a thin marker, and then if you wanna make pack a real punch, you can just use a really thick one. Any kind, but black, 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 black. Now in terms of whites, that's even more important, because when you're working on toned paper, you need your whites. It's kind of the same thing. So when you're working on toned paper, the tone of the paper fills in this area of the value scale. That's what makes toned paper drawing so unique, is that you're not drawing this area. You let the paper draw that area. It's already drawn. So you're only responsible for the darks to black and then the white. How weird is that? And that's why it's super important to understand the value scale, because you're really kind of taking out this part and then you're only drawing medium and black and white. Magical, okay? So this, again, like this substitutes our drawing scale. So and this would be black. And then this would be the dark gray. And then this would be medium gray. And then there's your paper, and then all you have is white. So then again, you have a lot of choices for the white too. You can use white colored pencil. This again is the China marker. And I love it because it just goes on a little bit more opaque than the colored pencil. Again, Jerry's has these jumbo fun pencils that are kind of jumbo that I just enjoy. And then you can just go for flat out. When I really want to pack a punch, which is pretty much most of the time, I actually just grab a plain old paint marker. And then you can get really, really stunning highlights that just pop right at you. So sometimes there's just no substitute for a good old marker. That's why this hair is so stunning, again, because you have all the shades of gray in here, and then the whites. I think I overdid the whites. The whites, the more you use them, will decrease their like pop out effect. So that's why hers are a little bit more stunning, or like see how like they're like popping out? See, I don't have black in here. So it's a little bit more, oh, I guess I do have a little bit of black. Actually, I was looking at through my camera lens only. But if I had more values, it's a little like too light everywhere. But you see how there's a very little coloring in, because it's all the color of the paper is our whole skin tone with just a little bit of shading. But this would be a stronger drawing if I had had way more shading and really punched up the shadows. Then she would be way more, have way more dimension. Okay, so this is where the tone paper drawing comes in. And then again, you're only responsible for light gray, dark gray, black, and white. And then yeah, your little paper does the magical rest. And this can do light gray if you want to get really picky. Okay, so that's the basis of the tone paper. And again, the same rules apply. So this would be like a 2B, this would be like a 4B, this would be a 6 or 8B, and then this is black paper, toned paper, and then we have white. So that's just the concept of the toned paper. All right, that is plenty for the day. Next week we are going to be drawing the actual sphere using this same concept. And you can click the playlist right here to watch a full, well, actually I have a full playlist of tone paper drawings that I've done on my mixed media channel, so you can check those out here. Thanks for watching.